All right, greetings everyone. It is me, Umber Rays. I'm checking to make sure that my microphone is recording. I'm here in the dark, living up to my online ID. And today we're going to be talking about Perene, Perine, as some people have told me it's apparently pronounced. I don't care, in the sense that I'm quite happy with calling her Perine, and like it's Perene, like the Japanese pronunciation, but we're not here to talk about that. First of all, we're going to talk about the fact that I have deleted Nox from my computer. That has been a positive step in my life. And not only that, for the last few days, I've been essentially testing out Perine, training my Perine, working with some things that feel weird and whatnot. So this is kind of the second Perine video without having seen what is going to be announced tomorrow, or the new vision card for Perine, as well as just anything else that gets announced tomorrow. So just preemptively, you know, there'll probably be a third Perine video. But so first off, let's talk about reviews. These were the review notes that I had the previous time. In case anybody missed them, you can take a look right here. I will wait a second and you can pause the video if you need to check. All right, now this is the thing I want to show off. First, I want to just switch over to an actual water-based party and show off Perine's stats. This is roughly what you can expect from her at a 120 with a good amount of water vision cards. If we scroll down, we can see the type of resistances that she can potentially have and where she is strong and where she has a few glaring holes in her weakness, like just in her kit kind of thing. And a little bit later in the video, I'll talk about like the things I do like and the things I don't like. But we today are specifically, oh shoot, where did it go? Here it is. We're taking a look at this. Now this is essentially supposed to be kind of a 3-on-3 matchup of pure water versus pure wind. I don't have Sadali, so unfortunately I can't test that, but I'll show off the water characters first to show what their stats look like. That's not what I was wanting to do. That's the one I wanted to hit. And I've basically put these characters without having, except for right here, mostly trying to keep TMR weapons out of it. The one case is going to be here, but it should just take it with a grain of salt. And as for vision card setup with this party, I really had a hard time figuring out how to set this up as best I could. Mainly just because to some extent it's like which vision cards do you include, which do you don't, because or do you not, because you can't really change anything on the friend character. So I tried to build mostly offensive with the vision cards that I do have to show off some of the damage capabilities against each other. But of course there are other vision cards out there, and they will make the matchups a little bit different in turn about how good, how bad they can be, and so on and so forth. So, you know, just before we get into this video too much, I do want to state that here's my Glassy, which is coming out tomorrow on Global. So, yay, promotion. And so you can get an idea for what characters are particularly strong and not strong against. Obviously, again, there are some vision cards that would make a difference. I'm not going to go too in-depth into that. I'm sure that if you are a wind expert or a water expert, you can think of some vision cards that would go good or bad, and I'll leave that up to your own joy. But we're gonna go in here, see a 120 versus a bunch of other 120s, with 2B in here being at 115, but wind not necessarily my strongest element. Let's just see here. Now, I have been just kind of figuring around with Prene in general about how I liked her stats and which passives I really enjoyed. I'll talk a little bit about that later, but there's definitely been, over the last few days of testing, some moments of general frustration with the AI, because it does like doing certain things that would be considered, that some would consider to be We're not running our own TMR. The things we want to run are her two primary ones that are giving a lot of her own bonuses. This and this. So we're going to start off with the 70% HP, which is always just a good thing. And without doing too terribly much on Perine, we'll jump over here and take a look at her stats. Roughly almost just 2,000 attack, which is pretty damn strong. And we did run one of her buffs, but even if, we are going to just see what Glassy without some buffs can do. So taking a look here, we can kill Gargus, which I'm always a fan of. We can kill 2B. We can do a hefty amount of damage towards Astrius, and we can do a pretty damn decent amount to her, but only roughly getting around 50%. Now this is kind of interesting for two reasons. One, her own resistances can be potentially a kind of bad thing for her, because if, heaven forbid, but if you do miss the 50% mark, it is possible that you could just kill her. So resistances and fine-tuning resistances against parties is an interesting thing. Obviously a ton of resistance would probably just be best, but even if, like, if you could somehow arrange it to make it pretty predictable that you can get around the 60% HP, you could almost naturally make sure that her ability triggers, making sure that she gets her HP regenerate. What also is noticeable is the counter ability here, which does just boost a huge amount of damage in return. Really kind of scary for how much to do. We're going to head back over here. We're going to take a look at some of our buffs here. I think the one that we're going to try and do is not her own barrier, because I do want her to take a little bit of a swing first to see, but we're going to get Glassy just a little bit stronger and see how damages measure up. I also want to go off just the HP capability of running Astrius with her as well. We'll take a peek here. This won't really too terribly affect about how much we're doing here, but it does give an idea for what this character would be like. And already I'm pretty much building HP runes for her, get as much HP as possible and make her really tanky. So the next unit that we want to take a look at is probably Doom, who would be a reasonable unit to go up against, because she is in effectively every wind party ever. But taking a look at what kind of damage we're getting here, we're just really not seeing that much. Decent damage in return off of her counter, so if you are trying to go against Perine, counter block is almost certainly, definitely. Now again, we are looking to see how much damage we can do without buffs currently, so we'll test that first. And next up, just as a slashing based unit, we can get an idea for damage we are doing again, how much damage we earn. Therefore giving us an idea of how strong, how weak our characters are here. It's been a little while since I've used 2B too seriously. I don't remember her having particular really strong buffs, but we'll just do this now. And also we do want to compare a little bit of what some other type of elements can do, but we only get one shot at this video with a 120, so we're testing it with a water comp just to see what other water units do. And we're going to do this a little bit so we can first of all get rid of some of the enemies, get them out of the way. And now that also gives Celeste here a nice little buff. So we can see comparatively how much damage a tank, and yes, Glass is not primarily a physical based tank, but with 62 defense, it's probably a fairly accurate measure as much. Also, we should just take a look at what her resistances are right now. 48%, 25, 5, 53, and 4 make her a good overall percentage. All right, we're not looking for June, we're taking Glassy here and seeing what damage she can do once she has run one of her buffs. So again, seeing the type of damage that she can do here versus our tank-based unit. And now we're going to head over here and do the same attacks on our other water unit. So we can see here, again, roughly about the same amount of damage. And then a few others, just to see what it is kind of capable across multiple units. And you can see that Perine is pretty difficult to kill. More than likely, you'll always see units buff up their attacks before they get into fight an enemy. So that can be beneficial, but again, I do think fine-tuning will be important. Next thing, again, Glassy's barrier ability is one that her AI is basically always programmed to run, from my experience, especially with fine-tuning. So we'll run that just so we can see how much damage we're doing. So here we'll take across the board limit burst against someone like Astrius. We are going to eventually take some damage back, but I think the overall damage is fairly scary. Even against Astrius, dealing about 8,000 damage is a lot to go with. Go up against. Her large AoE, which can deal a fairly sizable amount of damage. So that's against Astrius. Now we will try against a few other units. Next up, against Celeste. Damage-wise, with her own buff, it is pretty damn comparable, her and Glassy, for how much damage they're doing. Obviously, a wind-based unit has a little bit different what's going on here, but fairly similar. It should be noted that with Perine and the latest job-related vision card, that they also have a considerable amount of human killer that can be. Next up, we will test up these. So damage against the ghost, damage against Glassy, and now test out and see what kind of damage we will do against these characters. So even with Glassy's strong barrier, she is capable of dealing a lot of damage, mainly because resistances on Glassy do not particularly go for strike resistance. Much fair amount of capability, but you do. Stun ability. And we are getting a little bit blocked here. So now that that's done, we will run her second ability here. Going to give a little bit of resistance, but should be fine. And Astrius, you would like to just get ready. And we will run June's strengthening ability. Give herself barrier and protect. Now remember, even though that she can run protect, it would be canceled out by the effect of her ability as well. So it is strong, but it is not that strong. Again, just seeing the damage that we can do. Alright, so decent idea. Wait for Perine to get her next attack. And then we'll just see what we can do against June. So again, you can see the type of damage that she is very, very capable of doing. Now, for the end of this video, because I don't want this video. I mean, there is other things we can test. We can see how she goes up against lightning-based units. That's a little bit of, I feel like, a little overzealous at this point. But we'll just finish up the mission, and I will bring up my talking points about the final thing that I really want to talk about with Perine. And yes, as an acknowledgement, I do think that different vision cards, equipment and whatnot will make a fair amount of differences in potential testing, damage, but with a wide range of characters out there being used, wind is probably one of the gold standards measuring how well I think this do. Now, let me talk about my findings over the last few days. So first of all, Perine at 89 in Arena against full 120 teams is still a little bit of a disadvantage. From what I can tell, there is no way I would there's no way that I wouldn't want to run her own personal counter. It's strong, and it's been pretty good in my experience so far. Talking about the support skills, from what I have experienced over the last few days, I did test out a few different ones. First of all, HP and attack up, which into its EX will not outvalue her own 2-1s. So I think that is really noteworthy. What I have definitely found out that I do not like is the move +1 and the hate generation down. Especially on the current JP map, this is problematic as it makes her AI almost certainly target opponents, and it really doesn't give her enough time to set up both of her abilities. And that brings me to talking really quickly about TMR. Her skills take incredibly high priority over any TMR skill from I've seen tested out so far, such as a circlet and whatnot. So yeah, really 100% recommend not giving her extra movement, as it does add a bonus. And you would want to run her with a tank just as a secondary, really difficult to kill unit. But the other reason why you're going to want to run her with a tank is so that she gives her a little more time to set up, be a little bit further back and whatnot. And yeah, that's essentially the support that I have found so far from my testing. As for sub job, I am currently running with operative. I do like the bonuses such as the barrier, making her more difficult to kill. And last but not least, I have disabled most of the abilities to decrease her range and really focus her AI on doing her primary job, which is doing this buff, which gives her, of course, HP recovery, and not only that, but also this one, which gives her AP cost down and the 70% attack boost. With a tank with appropriate hate generation like Snow or Celeste, it shouldn't be a problem keeping it alive. Although, also in my findings, this has potentially put her into range of AoEs. Sorry, that's what I was getting. So it can be a little bit dangerous and dubious. As for my current thoughts on what she might be built with, I still think a TMR such as an accessory or armor would actually be okay. Maybe disabling the ability if you don't really need it, but focusing something on speed or HP. I haven't ruled out the idea of potentially building a fist-based weapon, as there is actually, throw it off, a fist like this which has high attack, damage limit up, high critical, HP, and could be built really easily for HP and speed, and I think that would be incredibly beneficial for her. Since she is such a speed demon already and such a high amount of attack, you could just push it further. You could build it also to be very defensive and resistant, and I think that might also be interesting. But again, still early days, still playing around with it. head and whether or not I want this or potentially another piece of equipment like a speed boosting piece of TMR or just a high HP or an HP regeneration. Also could be interesting. Perine is a unit that I haven't quite got a grip on. She's definitely powerful and she's definitely strong for people, but there is a whole bunch of conditional clauses, including whatever the VC and potential Esper might be revealed in the next 24 hours for her. The one thing I will say is that for people who are already eyeing her on global, should potentially really consider picking up Alaya, Snow, and last but not least, this vision card, which does offer just a huge bonus for a party comprising of fist-based characters as well as gunners, which is just ice and water almost to a T, and global also has Croft, so this vision card probably gets even better into the future. Anyway, that's a more in-depth look at the battle capabilities of Perine. When I get mine more into 9920, I will absolutely be doing more information on her, and we'll be talking to more about whatever the news is and how that will benefit her. Fingers crossed for like a new app. Anyway, thanks for watching. Take care.